I was 15 the night my sister destroyed my life. It started with yelling, loud, sudden, terrifying. My door flew open so hard it bounced off the wall. My dad's face was red, his eyes wide with rage. Behind him, my mom looked pale and tight-lipped, like always. Becca stood between them, fake crying, hugging herself like the victim in a bad teen drama. "Where is it?" Dad shouted. "Where the hell is my money, Kyle?" I sat up in bed, still in my hoodie and jeans. "What? What money?" "Don't play dumb," Becca snapped. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. The money from Dad's wallet. I saw you sneaking around his office." "I didn't take anything," I said, heart racing. "I didn't even go near his office today." "Check under his pillow," Becca whispered to Mom. Mom walked over, avoiding my eyes. She lifted my pillow like she already knew what she'd find, and there it was, a wad of cash, folded and stuffed under my pillow like I was the world's dumbest thief. "I didn't put that there," I shouted. "That's not mine. Becca, she's lying. She set me up." "Enough!" Dad's voice exploded. "I have had it with your lies." I looked at Becca. She had that smug little half smile. Her crocodile tears were already gone. "Why would I lie?" she whispered, voice shaking for show. "Why would I make this up?" Because she could. Because she always could. Becca was the golden child, the perfect daughter. Straight A's, piano recitals, student council. She could set the house on fire, and Mom would say she must have had a good reason. I, on the other hand, was the problem son. I didn't get in trouble, not really, but I was quiet. Distant. I wasn't easy like Becca. I liked to draw. I liked music Dad didn't understand. I pushed back when things didn't make sense, and tonight that made me guilty. "Get your things," Dad said coldly. "You're out." "What?" "You want to steal from your own family? Then you can go fend for yourself." He grabbed my backpack and started throwing clothes in. Then he dumped my dresser drawers into a trash bag. My mom stood there, frozen. Not even a whisper of protest. "Dad, please." I tried to stop him, to explain, to beg, but he shoved the bag into my chest and pointed at the door. "I don't want to see your face again until you learn some respect." I stood on the porch barefoot, shivering, holding a trash bag full of my life. Becca watched from the window. She smiled, really smiled, and then closed the curtain. That's the moment I realized the truth. This wasn't about money. It never was. This was about Becca needing to be the good one. And me? I was the scapegoat she needed to stay golden. And my parents. They were happy to believe her. The cold slapped me across the face the second the door shut behind me. It was nearly midnight. I was barefoot, standing on the cracked concrete porch with a trash bag over my shoulder and nowhere to go. I kept thinking they'd open the door, that Mom would come running out, tearful and shaken, saying this had gone too far. But no one came. The house stayed dark. The curtains never moved. I walked until the streetlights ran out. My breath turned white in the air. My feet were already going numb. I kept my head down, trying not to cry, because once I started, I wasn't sure I'd stop. I pulled out my phone. 1% battery, no charger, no data. I sent one message before it died. "Can I come over?" Lindsay replied almost instantly. "Of course." Lindsay was my best friend. She didn't ask questions. When I showed up at her door looking like I'd been dragged through a war zone, she just let me in and handed me a blanket. Her mom gave me tea in the guest room floor, but in the morning, things changed. "I'm sorry, sweetie," her mom said gently. "I talked to your parents. They said you're going through something, that you need time to cool off." "I didn't do anything," I said, voice cracking. Her smile was full of pity. "Sometimes we make mistakes, and we don't want to admit it." That was all I needed to hear. I left before they could help me anymore. What followed was a blur of nights in strange places: an old classmate's couch, a public library bathroom, behind a dumpster behind a gas station. I learned which grocery stores had food samples and which churches left their doors unlocked at night. The worst part wasn't the cold. It wasn't the hunger or the blisters on my feet or the nights I couldn't sleep because of the fear. It was the silence. No one was looking for me. Not my dad, not my mom. Certainly not Becca. I passed a week pretending I had places to be. I showered at the YMCA when I could sneak in. I kept going to school because it was warm and no one asked too many questions. I stole granola bars from the vending machine when I could. One time, I saw my mom's car parked outside the grocery store. She got out, laughing at something Becca said. They looked happy, like nothing had happened, like I had never existed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to walk up to them and ask how they could just raise me like that, but I didn't, because deep down I already knew the answer. Becca gave them a version of reality where she was the good child and I was the broken one. It was easier to believe her than to admit they failed their son. So I became what they said I was: a ghost, a problem to ignore, a story they'd retell with a sad shake of the head. I didn't stop surviving, but that's all I was doing, surviving. And somewhere deep inside, a tiny part of me started to hate them. Not just for what they did, but for how easy it was for them to do it. By the second week, I'd mastered the art of pretending. Pretending I wasn't cold. Pretending I wasn't starving. Pretending I still had a home to go back to when the bell rang. At school, I smiled when people passed me in the hallway, kept my head down in class, and did my best not to smell like I'd slept in a drainage pipe. The school showers helped. So did gum stolen from gas stations. I even tried to laugh at jokes and nod when teachers called my name like I still belonged. But the whispers started anyway. Did you hear what Kyle did? He stole from his dad. That's why he got kicked out. I heard he threatened his sister. Rumors spread fast in high school. Becca had always been popular in that clean-cut, student leader, teacher's pet way. She didn't need to shout to be heard. People wanted to believe her. If Becca said I was a thief, then I must have been one. If she said I was unstable, then maybe I was. I overheard her in the cafeteria one afternoon, surrounded by friends. It's just really hard, she said, voice soft, perfect for sympathy. He was always angry. I wanted to help him, but I couldn't live in fear anymore. She dabbed fake tears from her eyes. Her best friend hugged her. Another girl patted her arm. The table murmured their support like a chorus. I stood behind the vending machines, fists clenched, heart pounding. I wanted to scream the truth. I wanted to drag her outside and make her admit it. But even if I did, who would believe me? One of the football players shoved me in the hallway that week. "Don't steal my wallet, loser," he laughed. A teacher saw it happen and looked the other way. I tried reaching out to my Aunt Denise. She'd always been a little more grounded than the rest of my family. I called her from a gas station payphone and told her everything. She listened. Then she sighed and said, "Sweetheart, I know your parents can be tough. But if you're struggling with mental health, you should ask for help instead of making things worse." My throat closed up. Mental health. That was their new excuse for writing me off. I wasn't being honest. I was troubled. My pain wasn't real. It was a cry for help. I hung up and sat behind the gas station, shaking, staring at the concrete until it blurred. Becca hadn't just taken my home. She'd taken my reputation, my future, my voice. She didn't want to punish me. She wanted me erased. The world saw me as broken now. Not because I actually was, but because that's what Becca said I was. And when the world believes a lie long enough, and it becomes the truth. That was the night I stopped waiting to be rescued. No one was coming. Not my parents. Not my teachers. Not even the so-called adults who were supposed to protect kids like me. I realized if I ever wanted my life back, I'd have to fight for it. But first, I had to survive the lie. It was late, probably close to midnight, when I saw her again. I was behind the gas station, hunched over a crumpled bag of chips I'd found half full in a trash can. A car pulled up to the pump, and I ducked out of instinct, heart racing. I thought it might be my dad, but it wasn't. It was Becca. She stepped out of the car like it was any other Tuesday night and not the crime scene of my life. Hair perfect, jacket zipped, earbuds dangling from her collar like pearls. She walked inside, bought a bottle of soda, and then, on the way back, stopped dead when she saw me. We stared at each other across the concrete. For a second, I thought she might turn and walk away, or look disgusted, or maybe even nervous. Instead, she smirked. "Well," she said, strolling over, "look what the wind blew in." I stood up slowly, wiping my hands on my hoodie. "What do you want?" "Nothing," she said sweetly. "I was just wondering how the street life's treating you. Still stealing from gas stations, or did you move up to actual crime?" I didn't reply. I was done defending myself to her. I think that silence bothered her because she tilted her head and crossed her arms. "You know, you really made it easy," she said. "All I had to do was cry. You've always been so weird, distant. It didn't take much to convince them you were a ticking time bomb." "You planted the money," I said, voice flat. She smiled. "Of course I did." No shame, no hesitation. "Why?" I asked because I needed to hear it. I needed something to hold on to that wasn't just rage and disbelief. She didn't even blink. "Because I was sick of being second best." I blinked. "What are you talking about? You've never been second to me." "In your eyes, maybe," she said, "but not in Dad's, not in Mom's. You were the quiet genius, the deep thinker, the misunderstood artist. I got good grades, joined clubs, did everything right, and they still talked about how special you were." I stared at her, stunned. She shrugged. "So I decided to take the spotlight for once. And guess what? It worked." She leaned in closer, voice low. "They chose me." I took a step back, not because I was afraid of her, but because I finally saw her for what she was. Cold, calculated, proud of what she'd done. "This ruined my life," I said. "You'll live," she said, popping the cap on her soda, "or you won't. Either way, it's not my problem." She turned to go, but then paused. And if you ever try to come back, don't bother. They won't believe you. I made sure of that." Then she walked away. And for the first time since that night I was kicked out, I stopped crying inside. Because I finally understood. This wasn't just about a lie, this was about power. She wanted to win, at any cost, and if that's how she wanted to play it, then fine. I'd play too. Not by begging. Not by waiting for anyone to save me. If I was ever going to get my life back, if I was ever going to be seen, I'd have to expose her myself. On my terms. I waited for the right moment. Not because I thought it would change anything, but because I wanted to look them in the eye when it all came down. It was raining when I went back. Cold sheets of it soaked through my hoodie, plastered my hair to my face, and made my trash bag of clothes sag and rip. I didn't care. I walked up the driveway like it was mine, like I hadn't been thrown off it like garbage weeks ago. When I knocked on the door, I didn't expect anyone to answer. But my mom opened it. She gasped when she saw me, muddy, wet, bleeding from a small cut on my knuckle I didn't remember getting. "Oh my God, Kyle, I need to talk to Dad," I said. "Now." Her eyes darted behind me like she was afraid someone would see. She stepped aside, hesitant. I walked in. The house smelled like laundry detergent and dinner. Like normal life. Like everything I'd been denied. Dad was in the living room watching TV. He turned and scowled the moment he saw me. "What the hell are you doing here?" I dropped my soaked bag on the floor. We're going to talk. No, we're not. You're going to listen for once, I snapped. Because I've been out there for weeks, on the street, while you all lived like nothing happened. Because you stole from me, he roared, standing. You embarrassed this family. You're lucky we didn't press charges. I didn't steal anything, I shouted. Becca framed me. Don't drag your sister into this because you can't take responsibility. She admitted it, I yelled. To my face, behind the gas station. She planted the cash. She wanted to make me look bad so she could look better. He scoffed. You expect me to believe that? Yes, I shouted, because it's the truth. Becca walked into the room at that moment. She froze when she saw me, dripping, shaking, furious. Dad pointed at her. Tell your brother he's delusional. Becca looked at me. For a second, something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe. But then she smiled, cool as ever. He's lying, she said. Again. That's when something in me cracked. I stepped forward and grabbed the picture frame off the table. A family photo back when we still pretended to be one. I hurled it at the wall. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. Stop lying, I screamed. I know what you did. Dad grabbed the glass ashtray from the coffee table and flung it at me. I ducked too late. It missed my face by inches, but the shards hit my arm. Blood bloomed across my sleeve. My mom screamed, but I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I looked straight at my dad, my so-called father, and said, This is what you protect. This is what you chose. He stood there, chest heaving, red-faced but suddenly unsure. You always wanted a problem child? I said. Well, congratulations. You got one. Just not the one you thought. I turned to go. Behind me, I heard my mom crying. I heard Becca scoff. I heard Dad muttering something under his breath. I paused at the door. One day, I said without turning around, you're going to see who she really is. And when you do, I hope it keeps you up at night. Then I walked back out into the rain, bleeding, cold, but standing tall. I didn't get far before I heard her voice again. Running away again? Becca called from behind me. Her tone was calm, almost amused. You're good at that. I stopped halfway down the driveway. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the streetlight buzzed above us like an old electric wasp. I turned around. She was standing on the porch, arms crossed, protected by the overhang, while I stood soaked to the bone. Why are you doing this? I asked. My voice was low, tired, hollow. What did I ever do to you? She shrugged. You existed. That simple. That cruel. Do you even realize what you've done to me? I said. I've been sleeping on the street. I've gone days without food. You made Mom and Dad hate me. They don't hate you, she said with a smirk. They just finally see you for what you are. I stepped closer. You're a liar, Becca. Yeah, she said lightly, but a believable one. The way she said it, so proud, made something inside me twist. I wanted to scream, but the words caught in my throat. And that's when I heard another sound behind her. A voice, soft, breaking. Becca? Mom. She was standing in the doorway, clutching her chest, rain dripping from her hair. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed, and full of something I'd never seen before. Fear. Becca froze. Mom? Mom stepped forward, shaking. Say it again. Becca's mouth opened and closed. I didn't mean... Say it, Mom demanded, her voice trembling. Say what you did. Becca's confidence cracked. It was just a joke. I didn't think he'd actually... Say it, Mom screamed. I planted the money, Becca shouted back, finally breaking. Okay, I put it under his pillow. I lied. I wanted to fix things. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. She stumbled backward like she'd been punched. The porch light flickered across her face, pale and devastated. Dad appeared behind her. His expression didn't change at first. He just stood there, eyes narrowing, like maybe he could still twist the truth to make it fit the version of the world he preferred. But Becca's words hung in the air like a knife. There was no taking them back. The silence that followed was thick, ugly. Rain dripped from the roof in slow, steady beats. Then Mom whispered, "You destroyed your brother's life." Becca started crying, for real this time. "I didn't mean to—" "Stop," Mom said sharply. "You meant every word. You enjoyed it." She turned to me then, her face crumbling. "Kyle?" I didn't move. I didn't hug her. I didn't say it was okay. Because it wasn't. Dad stood behind them both, silent. His jaw flexed, but he said nothing. I saw the truth hit him like a slow-motion car crash, and he hated it. Not because he regretted what he'd done, but because he couldn't control the story anymore. For the first time since that night, I felt something new, something heavy and strange. Vindication. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even relief. It was just truth. Finally, someone else saw the monster I'd been fighting alone. "I don't want your pity," I said quietly. "I want accountability." No one spoke. Not Mom, not Dad, not Becca. I turned to leave again, but this time, when I stepped off the porch, I wasn't running away. I was walking towards something. Freedom. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on a bench outside the library watching the sky turn from gray to pink. My hoodie was still damp. My arm was wrapped in a stolen roll of paper towels, and I was too tired to think. But not too tired to decide. They knew the truth now. That was something. But truth without consequences wasn't justice. At 7:03 a.m., I stood up, walked to the nearest cafe with free Wi-Fi, and borrowed a laptop someone left unattended for 5 minutes. I opened a new post on my town's Facebook community page and typed, "My name is Kyle. I'm 15 years old. A few weeks ago, I was kicked out of my home because my sister framed me for stealing money. Last night, she confessed in front of my parents. This is what happened to me, and what my family let happen because they wanted to believe she was perfect." I attached a photo of the cut on my arm. I didn't need to embellish anything. The truth was enough. By noon, it had been shared over 3,000 times. By evening, it was 15,000. People commented. Strangers offered food, clothing, shelter. Others asked if they could help contact child services. A local reporter reached out saying she wanted to hear my story. I ignored most of it. I wasn't doing this for attention. I just wanted the silence broken. Around 5 p.m., I got a call from my mom. I didn't answer. Then a text came through. "Please come home. We're sorry. We'll fix this." I didn't reply. Instead, I went back to the house, not to beg or cry or even scream, but to reclaim what was mine. When I got there, they were waiting on the porch. My mom looked like she hadn't slept. Dad stood behind her, stiff and silent. Becca was nowhere in sight. "We saw what you posted," Mom said, voice shaking. "Good," I said. "Did you read it all?" She nodded. Dad cleared his throat. "This should have stayed private. Family matters don't belong on the internet." I looked him in the eye. I was homeless. I was hungry, bleeding, sleeping behind dumpsters. You made it public the second you kicked me out without a second thought. He had no response. "I want more than your apologies," I said. "I want you to fix what you broke." Mom blinked. "What do you mean?" "Tell everyone the truth. Post it. Own what happened, all of it." Dad stepped forward. "No. Absolutely not. We're not airing our shame for the whole town." "Then I'll keep doing it," I said. "Every day. Until people know what kind of parents you are." It was Mom who broke first. She pulled out her phone and opened Facebook. She started typing, hands trembling. "I'm Kyle's mother. Everything he said is true. She posted it. That single act broke whatever illusion Dad was still clinging to. He stared at the screen like it had betrayed him. And in a way it had, because now he couldn't rewrite the narrative. The world knew. The curtain had fallen. Becca didn't come outside, but I saw her face in the window. Pale, ashamed, maybe even scared. Good. She didn't get to hide behind silence anymore. That night, I slept in my own bed. Not because I forgave them, but because I earned it back. Every floor I'd curled up on. Every night I went hungry. Every time I was called a liar, a thief, a disappointment. I survived it all. And now I wasn't the problem son. I was the truth they tried to bury, and I dug my way out.